Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my most anticipated fantasy romance and romantasy audiobooks that are releasing in July and August. Alright guys, so today I am kicking off a brand new series where I share anticipated fantasy romance audiobooks that are releasing every season, starting with summer 2025. Now, I fully intended to include June in this video, however, because of time constraints, we are already into July, so just know the next video will have a full 3 months. But the whole purpose of this video is sometimes audiobooks do not release at the same time as physical books or ebooks, and it can be kind of hard to keep track. So I'm hoping this just makes it a little bit easier for both me and you to keep track of when audiobooks are releasing. So I will give you a spoiler-free plot synopsis of every book so you can decide if you want to pick it up or not, and I am so excited to share these audiobooks with you. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these audiobooks. So releasing on July 1st, we have A Promise of Lies, which is the third book in the Shadows of Tenebrous Court series, the first book being A Kiss of Iron. I've had that book on my radar for so long, and I really need to start it. But apparently the series is following a noblewoman who is hired to spy on a fake court, and apparently it's a slow burn romance, there's court politics, and I've heard nothing but good things. So if you've been waiting for book 3 to drop via audio, it will be releasing on the 1st of July. Alright, so there are a lot of romantasy audiobooks dropping on July 8th. I feel like a lot of these are releasing at the same time as their physical and ebook, which I really appreciate. I feel like a few years ago that was never happening, and now it's happening more and more often where the book publishes at the same time as the audiobook, and I love that because I love reading new releases. So, works for me. But anyway, first up we have Rose in Chains. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and it is releasing in July. So in the story, we are following Briene. And Briene was on the side of the war that has now lost, so she has had all of her magic stripped away, and she is now being sold at auction. So she ends up in the hands of a powerful commander, her greatest enemy, and someone that she once had a bit of a crush on. So this was actually the auction fanfic that had all of the nods to Harry Potter removed and is being re-released as Rose in Chains. So I'm very curious if I'm going to love this, but I will 100% be reading this the day the audiobook drops. And also releasing on July 8th, we have The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. That title is such a mouthful, but this is also Hermione fanfic that has been adapted and re-released with all of the nods to Harry Potter removed. So in this, we are following I believe he's a hitman or a mercenary who's in desperate need of healing. So he goes to the one person that can help him, this brilliant scientist that absolutely despises him. However, she agrees to help because she needs funding to try to find a cure to an illness, and I believe it's their romance. I heard this is filled with a lot of banter and should be really fun. And next up, we have Obsidian. Now, this is also releasing on July 8th, and I am just now realizing I forgot to include it in my July TBR, but I will definitely be reading this when it releases. So this is a new dark romantasy by Brigitte, and we're following a mortal thief that after a dark fae prince steals a magical relic from her, she is forced to cross into the forbidden Obsidian kingdom where mortals are treated appallingly. They are either killed on the spot or treated as playthings, and our main character is desperate to get this relic back. So she is going to have to kind of go toe-to-toe with this dark fae prince, and it's going to be a power play, and I've heard amazing things. This sounds so good. I can't remember if I've read any other books by Brigitte, but that name does sound very familiar. But anyway, if you've heard of this or if you've read this as an arc, please let me know, because I have not heard a lot of people talking about this, but that plot sounds fantastic. And the final audiobook releasing on July 8th is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the start to a new dark romantasy series, and I cannot wait for this audiobook to finally drop. So in the story, we are following Lilith, and Lilith has been cast out of her very powerful family and forced to live in a district that is comprised of sin. Now, she's been able to get by stealing magical artifacts, but everything goes awry when one of these artifacts that she procures accidentally kills the buyer. So now she is pulled into a deadly game of power, prophecies, and secrets, and I am so ready for this audiobook. So this is another one of my most anticipated releases. And on July 16th, the second audiobook in the Wolves of Crescent Creek series is releasing. I believe it is called Eclipsed Empire, but I might be mistaken. Now, all I know about this is it is a why choose shifter fantasy romance, but I've read other series by Tessa Hale, and they have been phenomenal, so I am sure this one is no different. But the second book, like I said, is releasing in July. And releasing on July 21st, the second part of Shadow Princess, the fourth book in the Zodiac Academy, will be dropping. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Zodiac Academy, it is an incredibly addicting fantasy romance series. I've talked about it in the past. I actually have a full spoiler-free series review that I'll leave in the cards and the description. But apparently they have a graphic audio version, and I had no idea that existed. So the second part of Shadow Princess will be dropping on July 21st. And on July 22nd, The Bond That Burns, the sequel to On Wings of Blood, will be dropping. I just finished On Wings of Blood. It is a vampire, dragon, fae fantasy romance. Definitely has like bully vibes, a little reminiscent of Zodiac Academy. Very fun time. The story is essentially following this girl who ends up in another realm that's filled with vampires, and they essentially tell her that they believe she is the last dragon rider, although there are no dragons in this realm. So she's then forced to go to this like elite school filled with vampires, and all of the vampires treat her absolutely terribly, including her fiance. And it's their romance. It also has like Draco Malfoy vibes. And overall, it was really fun. But the ending of that book, I need the sequel immediately. So the moment that audiobook drops, I will be reading it. And also releasing on July 22nd, we have Arcana Academy. Now, this is the start of a new dark academia fantasy romance, and I am so excited for this. I have a few friends that are reading ARCs currently, and they're really enjoying it. So in this story, we are following a girl who somehow possesses illegal tarot card magic, and she is supposed to go to prison for the rest of her life until the headmaster of Arcana Academy intervenes and says, hey, you don't have to go to prison, but I need you to pose as my soon-to-be wife and also help me hunt down a very magical card. So I'm assuming it's going to be a romance between the two of them, but once again, I've heard very good things, and I cannot wait to check this book out. And on July 29th, DireBound will finally be coming out via audio. I have been desperately waiting for this book to finally drop. I've had so many people recommend it. Apparently, this is a romantasy that is very similar to Fourth Wing, except instead of dragons, we have wolves. So in this story, we are following a girl named Marin who never wanted to join the king's army. That is until her sister was kidnapped and taken behind enemy lines. So now she is forced to participate in the mate trials where she'll be bonded with a wolf, and all of that sounds fantastic. Once again, I've been dying to read this book, so I cannot wait for that audiobook to finally drop. And also on July 29th, Wrath of the Dragon will be releasing the same day as the physical book. This is the sequel to Fear of the Flame by Olivia Rose Darling. I cannot wait, once again, for this book to release. I loved Fear of the Flames. If you're unfamiliar, it is an adult fantasy romance following a girl that she was actually a princess, and when she was born, she bonded with dragons, but there was a prophecy saying that she could spell doom for her kingdom. So her father promptly locks her in a dungeon and separates her from her dragons. Now, she is able to escape, but she has to leave her dragons behind. That is until one of her father's rivals asks that they go together and kind of have a heist in order to try to get her dragons back. And it's their romance, so kind of like reluctant allies to lovers. So much good banter, just an overall very fun story. And the way that book ended, I've been dying for the sequel. So Wrath of the Dragons is releasing the same day as DireBound on July 29th. And last up for July, Thorn and Fire, the second book in the Ashes of Thesmar series, will be releasing on July 29th. Now, unfortunately, I never read the first book in that series, but I did read the original Legend of Thesmar series and really, really enjoyed it. It kind of had like Witcher vibes, and the main female protagonist I was obsessed with. So I'm sure this series is just as amazing, and hopefully I'll be able to get caught up soon. And moving into August, on August 5th, Accomplice to the Villain, which is the third book in the Assistant to the Villain series, will be releasing. I'm going to be completely honest, I see these books everywhere and I still have not picked them up. I keep forgetting that they exist, and then I forget that they're romantasy. Just the cover doesn't really give me like romantasy vibes, but this has been one of Goodreads' like Choice Awards top series for quite a while now. And I believe this is kind of like a romantasy, but it does have a lot of like comedic elements. So I am curious, if you've read this, let me know. Do you think I would like it? What did you think? But overall, I am very excited. The third book will be dropping via audio on August 5th. And another sequel that is releasing on August 5th is The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. Now, this is technically the fourth book in the Crown of Nyaxia series. However, the first two books, Serpent and the Wings of Night and Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, follow one couple, and then the Songbird and the Heart of Stone starts off kind of like a new mini duet following a different couple. So this is the sequel to that. Now, I am not sure if the audiobook is just dropping on August 5th or if the physical book and audiobook are dropping, but I am very curious. I never read A Songbird and a Heart of Stone. It has been on multiple TBRs, but I've heard a lot of mixed things. So if you've read this, let me know, what did you think? But once again, vampire, fantasy romance, so if you've been waiting for this book, it is finally dropping in August. And the final audiobook releasing in August is releasing on August 19th. We have Kiss the Basilisk. This is another one. I have been desperately trying to find an audiobook for this book. Apparently one did release under its original title, Spit or Swallow, but that audiobook ended up being pulled and a new one is releasing in August. So if you're unfamiliar with Kiss the Basilisk, I have heard it is absolutely unhinged. It's apparently following a girl that needs to learn how to seduce a prince for some sort of like seduction competition, but the person training her is actually a giant snake. And I think there's some like snake intimate times at points in this book. So very, very curious. I've had a few of you that have said that you've read it. Now, some of you have said you've read it, it's completely bonkers, but you highly recommend. And others have said stay clear of this book. So I'm so interested. The plot sounds insane. So another book or audiobook I cannot wait to read. Alright guys, that is it for my summer audiobook anticipated releases. Now, once again, I was missing an entire month, so the fall version of this video will be substantially longer. Also, let me know if you guys would like to see dark and contemporary romances mixed in. For this, I just did Romantasy, since that's what I seem to be requested the most of for recommendations, but I do read a decent amount of dark romance and contemporary, so I could definitely do one that includes all of the different types of romance. So let me know down in the comments below. I would also like to say a special thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Christy, Kat, Lada, Leslie, Nerdy, Spoon, and the Sarandrea family. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.